Greetings everyone, welcome back to Covetous Imp Gaming. Today we're going to talk about religion and incorporating it into your game of Dungeons & Dragons. Before we get started, please like this video, leave us a comment below about videos you would like to see in the future, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you're alerted to our future content, and check us out on Facebook and Patreon. Those links are down below. This was a viewer requested video, and I wanted to talk about different aspects of religion and how and why to incorporate it into your game. So these are just my opinions, and you can take my opinions with a grain of salt. This is the internet, and everybody has an opinion. So what I think is right might not be right for you, and that's okay. I'm going to talk about a few D&D examples and then a non-D&D example. And the first one that I want to talk about is Curse of Strahd. In Curse of Strahd, your characters come from their home realm and are transported to a domain of dread. In that domain, there is a source of good and a source of evil, which can power your clerics, paladins, and warlocks sufficiently. However, their deities that they left at home have no power there. So through the magic of roleplay, or just from this good deity picking up where their deity left off, you can either have them struggle to maintain their powers, or just kind of have this power handoff to this new power, and have the player none the wiser that their god is no longer with them on this journey. My other D&D example is Critical Role. Matt Mercer, for the great storyteller that he is, cherry-picked his good and evil deities from all across the D&D mythos, slammed them all together, and said, this is the pantheon of Exandria. And it worked out amazing. He didn't have to create his own deities, which he did a few, but he didn't have to create an entire pantheon to have a successful campaign. So don't be afraid to cherry pick. I want Vecna from Greyhawk, and Tiamat from Forgotten Realms, and Orcus and Asmodeus, and I want to bring them all together and say, this is what's pushing against good in my world. That's perfectly fine. My non-D&D example is going to be A Song of Fire and Ice by George R.R. Martin. In this story, you have many gods. Their influence is seldom seen, but the people that believe in these gods, the old gods, the Seven, the Drowned God, the Lord of Light, the God of Death, the Great Stallion, these people that believe in these gods are willing to fight and die and live and conquer in the names of these gods, even though their influence is rarely seen at all. So how do we bring these examples into your game at home? You can take George R.R. Martin's style of war, and having it be a religion-based war, and bring that into your game. You can have gods who mean a lot to people that don't really do much. The gods that have left the world and kind of just sprinkled their influence on people as they choose. And people who hate one another because of the gods that they worship. Or you can have your gods that have just kind of forsaken the world and let people be left to their own devices. It really comes down to this balance of how much work you want to put into this pantheon for your game, and hopefully met with an equal amount of, I'm willing to roleplay this much of it, from your players. Your clerics, your paladins, and your warlocks should all serve their gods and patrons, but the way that they choose to play that and roleplay that is up to them. Player A might just say, I cast Cure Wounds on that guy. While player B might say, I put my hand on this person's chest and I raise my other hand up to the sun and I say, please, Bahamut, grant my friend a few more hours of life. Nothing's wrong with player A, and nothing's wrong with player B. It's just the way that they choose to play. And it's the way that they choose to embrace whatever pantheon you've brought to your world, and how much emphasis you put on religion in your world. Now for me, I when I sit down to make a pantheon, I tend to make my my good deities celestials. My neutrals are elemental or fey, and my evil deities, while they're not necessarily gods, my archdevils and my demon lords tend to make up my evil deities. I do that because being in a cult, in a sense, is a religion, and those archdevils and those demon lords have followers and are worshipped just as much as those celestials or those fae are. Another big part of religion in D&D is a cultist, and again, these tend to be evil people, but one person's priest is another person's zealous cultist, and that amount of zeal that you put behind a character or a non-player character really drives that character forward. And one person in your party might hate that person for being so zealous and so pushy with their religion, whether it be good or evil. And I think that that's another big part of this, is good and evil tend to be point of view. That evil cultist views what he's doing as right, just like that priest of Bahamut views what he's doing is right. And while your paladin in the group might be hard charging to go and kill a cultist, the rogue in the group might have a hard stance of, I can't kill a holy man, and that cultist, even though he's evil, is a holy man. And to the rogue, gold rules the world. So the bottom line of this is going to come down to, when you're world building, how much effort are you putting into religion in this world? And the counterbalance of, are your players going to embrace the amount of religion that you're putting into your world? And it's something that you need to iron out very early, like session 0. Religion's going to be a very big part of this campaign, and is that okay with everybody? And if it's not okay with everybody, you might need to dial it back. If you base this entire campaign on some religious holy war, whatever, then maybe explain that to players and say, listen, I'm going to try to dial this back a little bit, but it is a big part of this story. And can we make this work? Hopefully you can. If you can't, so be it. But have this conversation with your players early on. Alex, I hope this answered all your questions. Please leave me a comment in the section down below. If any questions you have, the things that I got right, the things that you think I got wrong, I'd love to hear all of them. That's going to wrap it up for this week. If you have any videos that you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments down below. I love doing stuff like this, where I get to deep dive someone's off-the-wall question or a specific question. So please let me know. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. May all your rolls be 20s.